I'm Lisa Sugarman, and what if just 15 minutes could shift the way we talk about mental health? Gretchen Schoeser and I have teamed up with Calmerry for the monthly Mental Health Sit-Down series. Real talk, 15 minutes at a time. Big topics, honest conversation.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the November edition of the Calmerry Monthly Mental Health Sit-Down series with Lisa Sugarman and Gretchen Schoeser. The holidays are approaching, and while they can be joyful, they can also be deeply painful, especially for those grieving a loss. Grief doesn't follow a calendar, and the holidays can make loss feel even heavier. In this episode, we are creating space for the many layers of grief and offering support to those navigating the season without someone they love. Let's make this space for empathy and support.
I'm Lisa Sugarman, founder of the Help Hub, here again with Gretchen Schoeser, founder of Schoeser Talent and Wellness Solutions. And we're taking another 15 minutes to talk about the things that matter most to your mental health, one honest sit down at a time. And this month is Grief Awareness Month. And it couldn't come at a more meaningful time when the holidays are getting close, they're almost here, and there's all this pressure to feel joyful and to celebrate. And that can be incredibly overwhelming if you're just not feeling joyful and if you're grieving. So today we're just going to create some space to talk about grief in all of its forms, and there are many of them, what it looks like, why it gets so intense this time of year, and most importantly, how we can support ourselves and the people that we love through it. So the holidays, I don't know about you, but the holidays have this way of magnifying everything, especially, and I mean the joy too, but especially something like grief. Do you feel that?
Oh, for sure. For me, November and December are probably two of the hardest months of the year. In 2022, I had two significant deaths. Christmas was always my mom's favorite holiday. So it was the first year afterwards, after my attempt, it was really hard to figure out like how I was going to navigate those couple of months. But I have great tips, like things that worked for me, that even though I still had this horrible pain in my chest, I could still like enjoy the holidays. Maybe not like I did in years prior, but I could still enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's not an overnight thing. That doesn't just spontaneously happen. It's kind of a slow burn that we get ourselves a little closer and closer to feeling that joy again. So maybe if you're listening, you've lost somebody recently. And if you have, we're really sorry. Or maybe it was years ago. And that ache comes back at different times a year, especially as traditions or holidays roll around. Maybe it's your first Thanksgiving without a parent or a spouse, or it's your fifth Christmas without a child, or it's just that absence that grows louder, feels more significant when everybody else around you is celebrating. And it's not just about the person who's gone, though. It's about everything else that gets lost along that way.
From what we started doing is we started creating new traditions. For instance, at Thanksgiving now, we set 2 empty spots so we can remember the people that we've lost in our life. For Christmas, I put like things on the tree that would remind me of my mom. And I try and think of ways to bring a little joy into my life. Yeah, I still grieve. I still have a really hard time, but I can still smile. And I've also found out that I can take myself out of situations that don't serve me. So if you are grieving and you've been asked to go to a Christmas party or a holiday party and you don't want to go, you can bow out and don't feel guilty for doing it. You're bowing out for your own mental health and you should be okay with that. I mean, I've been okay with it. but it depends on the situation and how comfortable you feel in your own skin. But it's okay to grieve. Somebody once said that the first 2 years are the hardest. Well, that was a big lie because every year is hard. And you can validate how you feel, but you don't have to validate to everybody else. It's your own life. And being able to take care of you is really important.
Yeah, and you just said something I wanna touch back on, that it's okay to grieve. Yeah, 1000% it's okay to grieve, but here's the other thing. It is imperative that we grieve. It's necessary that we grieve, because when we don't, that's when those feelings of grief and sadness and loss build up, and that's when they start to have a negative impact on us. We start to recognize that it changes us when we don't express those feelings. It's like the old image of a radiator, the old radiators that you turn the knob and it lets the steam out so that it doesn't blow. That's why we grieve, because those feelings and those emotions and that sadness builds and builds and builds, and unless we express it or let it out, we will also blow. So it's so important and imperative that we grieve for that reason. Now, there are there are also secondary losses and hidden kinds of grief that we don't always name. And they're not as obvious, but they are absolutely just as real. Maybe it's the holidays and we're grieving a relationship that ended and we're alone when we haven't been alone for 10 years. Maybe it's the grief that the parent is feeling now that your child has moved out, or maybe you're estranged from family members, or your holiday just doesn't look the same because the same people aren't around the table. Or it's maybe a grief around an identity shift. Maybe you became a caregiver this year. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you're getting divorced. Those are things that we are absolutely allowed to grieve, and we don't really think of them, I think, in the same way, but they're just as painful. Don't you think that those are just the same? It's this a similar, I shouldn't say same, it's a similar kind of loss.
Take a step to your mental well-being with Calmerry, trusted online therapy platform that supports you through life's challenges. Connect with licensed therapists and reap the benefits of traditional therapy enhanced with digital tools whenever you need it. Visit calmerry.com to get started.
It's a similar kind of loss. There's a way to get around it where you can actually do something nice for yourself. Um, you can maybe go out and you can volunteer, something that'll make your heart feel good. That helps make the grief not feel so heavy. Try and surround yourself around people that make you laugh, or just sit with your feelings, or watch a funny movie. Funny movies always tend to kind of get me out of that headspace because it, laughter releases that cortisol and gets your serotonin up. And when your serotonin's up, it's actually makes it easier to smile. I didn't realize that until I went through my own stuff, but laughter is really important. Remember a happy memory or something you remembered that brought you a ton of joy during that time. And always remember you're not alone. So try and find community when you're going through that so you're not by yourself.
And the other thing to remember is that not everybody's celebrating. You may be in a house full of people who are there to celebrate, but not everybody is celebrating what you're celebrating or the way you're celebrating. And I think that's why we really need to collectively expand our definition of grief and what that really means. It's not just about death, like we just said. It's about absence. It's about change or longing for someone or something. And all of those things are valid. And we have to remember that and give ourselves permission to feel the heaviness of that or the loss from that. So, okay, what can we do then? What can we do when we're grieving or when someone we love is grieving? How do we support ourselves? How do we support other people? Well, we've already said one very important thing. We give ourselves permission to feel every bit of it. And we remind ourselves that there's no right or wrong way to grieve. And honestly, I think myself personally, I've learned I don't owe anybody joy. If that's not what I'm feeling, that's not what I'm giving. I'm not manufacturing it for the benefit of other people, which is why when you said, if you don't want to go to the event or the gathering, just say you don't want to go. Just give yourself that ability to say no. You also don't have to make an excuse. You just don't have to go. And we don't always recognize that we have that power to do that.
That's such an important boundary. If you can learn that one boundary, it's life-changing. For me, right before my suicide attempt, like, I didn't want to see anybody, I didn't want to do anything. And people gave me a lot of grief because I didn't want to participate. But as I learned through therapy, it's okay to say no. And if you absolutely just need that time for yourself, bow out. Just bow out gracefully and take care of you.
And do it unapologetically. Do it for yourself without feeling that you need to give anybody a reason or an excuse. Because sometimes the only thing this season or for the holiday or whatever the occasion is that you're celebrating, the only thing that we can do is breathe and survive. And you know what? Honestly, if you're doing that, you're just fine. You're doing just fine. So back to what do we do to support other people? We just talked a lot about how do we support ourselves? Okay, how do we support other people? Remember, you don't need to fix somebody else's pain, nor can you most of the time. It's just about being present. It's about if they're missing someone, if there's a loss, say the person's name. Ask if they want to talk about their person. Would that be helpful? The worst thing they could say is, I'd rather not. But at least you're asking. Let them talk. Let them not talk. Let them grieve on their terms. That's the most important thing. And if you're not sure what to say, just say, I'm thinking of you. I know this season or this day or this holiday is really, really hard, and I'm here if you want to talk, or just sit or walk or do none of the above. Just remember that those are the things that are in your power to say and to do.
And just always remember, offer yourself patience and grace.
Yeah, those are key. And in terms of takeaways for this conversation, for Grief Awareness Month, which of course does not just extend to this month, we grieve all the days, all the times for the people that we love and we care about. It does not go on pause for holidays. And it doesn't need to be hidden or tamped down or ignored. You have the right to grieve. You have the obligation to grieve. And number two, what we've said a lot about today, that there's just more than one kind, so many kinds of loss. There's death, there's distance, disconnection. All of those things deserve compassion. And all of those things are grief worthy. And the last thing to remember is that supporting somebody who's grieving is not about fixing their problem or taking away their grief, which we all wish we could, but we can't. It's just about, just be a witness, just hold space for it, and just listen without judgment. Just validate what they're feeling. Thanks for making space for this conversation today, friends. We'll see you next month, and until then, take care of you.
Whether you're navigating loss this season or supporting someone who is, remember that it's okay to slow down, to feel what you're feeling, and to let go of the idea that you have to be okay all the time. Next month, we are wrapping up the year with a special episode called Permission to Pause, a conversation about managing end-of-year expectations, setting healthy boundaries, and giving yourself the space to rest and reset. We hope to see you in December.
Thanks for being part of the conversation. If you know someone who needs to hear this month's sit down, we hope you'll share this episode. And we'll be back next month with another quick, honest conversation about mental health. Don't miss it, because one sit down could shift everything.